Hello everybody, welcome back to another game developer video where this is our third hour that we're doing this, and our breakout game is pretty close to being done. It's a very simplified one, yes, I understand. But this is a good starting point. This is going to teach us the main components to create a simple application using the Unity game engine. And this is what we've got. We've got balls, we've got scores, we've got a little bit of everything. Died. Oh no. Oh no, what's gonna happen? Oh, I missed. And we're at 0 lives. And now we're at negative lives. Yeah, so obviously there's a little bit of coding that still needs to be done here. As I move this over, we can see that we have kept track of the lives and the score. And that's what gets reported. Weird. That's what gets reported whenever the ball goes under and hits this death trigger. So lives and score. The score gets updated whenever we kill a block. We've taken care of all of the other objects in there. So there's a dynamic block placement or dynamic level creation is what we've talked about doing. That's kind of on the bottom of my list right now, because I primarily use blue in order to answer questions about Unity. So we'll see. Other interesting things, ball speeding up as it goes along. That's one thing that we are interested in doing. One of the things that I think I just thought of an idea of how to do this. But anyways, to make it more challenging, we want the ball to speed up as it goes along, gets faster, and then we'll start off the initial speed again if you die. The other thing we want to do is update it. This camera really sucks. Is we want to change the ball's trajectory depending upon where it hits the paddle. This will help us avoid the situation where the ball like hits off a corner in a weird way and just goes vertically up and down, and that's it. We want to avoid that. So this will enable us to get out of that situation. Or you just
play down here?
You can play down here, but please don't ride those because those are very loud. So it'll help us get rid of that situation, unless the other option is to just move the paddle to the side, take the death, and then it will give you a good angle again. She's not listening. And then here's the main thing that I want to know, because this is a simple, vector math, and that's stuff I can do on my own time. I can research. That's not a problem. The dynamic block placement we talked about, that's potentially something I could use blue for in figuring out how I want to create. Well, he suggests using a scriptable object to make the levels, and then we can just pull from the levels and define them dynamically on the fly. By having these dialogues pop up, mainly the start one, when you die, I want everything to stop, and I want this dialogue to pop up. And then if you hit the start button, play button, whatever, then it will actually go and then it will start the ball moving. And that way you can have your initial start screen. You're died, press start to continue, and then we can also create, yes, I know. And then we can create a you lost screen. Either you won or you lost. Whatever. And then I think we need to start a second screen or a second game in order to start wrapping my head around how do we switch from scene to scene. Oh, and we've got a child down here that is just making lots of noise. So welcome. The first thing we're going to do is, because blue is not here, I think I'm going to go ahead and work on doing the trajectory, ball speeding up, things like that. Chats and groups window in case blue comes on. Okay. So I'll have this to the side. That'll be good. Okay. So one of the things we have is we have the ball movement, which is the ball script. So every time we update, I think what we're going to do is, regardless of this up arrow, we are going to speed it up. And here is where it gets less fun, right? Is we're going to say Unity speed up object. Speed up 2D object. So I don't want the player, but I want to accelerate a game object. Speed to pick up over time. So this is kind of what we're looking for. This is me learning, and congratulations, if you're here and still watching, you're going to be learning this stuff too. That's, if I envision that if anybody's going to be watching this, it's going to be because they're interested in learning Unity as well. And I can use my years of experience in the industry of figuring out how to learn things and show you some new newcomers on how you can do stuff like that. Unity 5, you now have to reference component. We do have our component. In fact, we already have our game object right now, so we don't even need to do that. We can just do game object. I mean, this is the rigid body, and then we're changing the velocity. Do we have a rigid body? Game object dot. Okay, we don't have a rigid object here. So I think we're going to have to do the same thing. Get component. Returns the component of type if the game object has one attached. So if we do rigid body 2D, because that's what we would have, this should get us the rigid body attached to our object, which is this rigid body right here. Okay. Body. Oh, right. Sorry. Bar. And then he's taken the velocity and he is just using the transform. What's the transform? Transform is one of those key objects you have on your game object. Oops. And this is going to be the up here, this transform object. So Blue will have to correct me later, but it seems like anything that is a default component on the object when you create it, the transform and the renderer, I think those are probably, and the game object itself, are probably just automatically available as part of the mono behavior. Let's see that. Maybe not. Maybe it's just those other two. Oh well. Anyways, we have a transform. Transform here doesn't have a forward, which is interesting. So it's some other object that we can... Returns a normalized vector representing the blue axis of the transform in a world space. And then we don't have a speed. But I think we're going to do 1.1. Because if it's just 1, you're going to have the same speed. So you need to have it something bigger than 1. If you do a .1 or something like that, that's going to be 1/10 of the current speed, and that's going to slow us down. And it's probably going to say, hey, I don't know what you're doing there. This is going to be body, which is going to cause the rest of the compiler to frown upon this. So the velocity is going to be transform forward times our new speed. Transform is negative because in my game I have the illusion of the objects coming down.
Hi, Daddy.
Oh, so I actually just want to take whatever the speed is and make it faster. I don't care one way or the other, whether it's going up or down. Towards the player where the camera is attached as a child. And then I think this is some other people have come in and said, I can't remember. I think it's either the velocity or something else you're not, the transform you're not supposed to do directly. That's the old way of doing it, but we'll see. This is probably going to be more likely what we need to do. So the speed is going to be time delta times your acceleration, which is 1.0. So I think this whole thing just needs to be times
Dad,
time dot.
have keys. Keys.
Very nice, love. times, and then it's just time dot delta time. Okay, and so they're calculating delta time and the acceleration to be part of the speed, and then they're using the forward times the speed. Okay, so if that is the case, I'm gonna leave this up. You know, this kind of sounds fun that the user can choose whether or not they want it to be going faster or slower, so I'm gonna leave it as is. So let's go ahead and see what happens if it's always getting a little bit quicker. Does it feel like it's getting bigger? So let's go ahead and just do that. Let's see what happens. That, I mean, that gets exponentially bigger, and that should give us, should really let us know if what we're doing is correct or if we just need to tune it a bit. Is there a completion error? I didn't see one. Is it because we did a whole number and not a decimal with that floating point? No, okay. But let's see. I changed that to 1.1. Yeah, we broke it. How do we break this? Everything builds just fine. Okay, so that's running again. The body should be this component. We shouldn't have to update it. Did we just not save it before? Yeah, we're doing something. Okay, let's see. Debug.log. And then we're just going to put body, we're going to do velocity. And then actually I'm going to do a new one for velocity. Let's go ahead and just see what outputs with that. So new velocity is just 0. So the initial velocity is 5.5, but when we update it this way, it goes to 0. New velocity is just immediately 0, 0, 0. Okay. Let's go ahead and kill this. Let's do a little. Let's dig into this debugging a little bit. Okay, you've got to go tell Mama, sweetheart. You got to tell your mama your problems to Mama.
It's on this car.
Yeah, you got to go tell Mama. It's her night.
No, it's on the yellow car. And it's
I'm interested to see what the delta time is. Hannah, tonight, yes, I understand. You need to go ask Mom for help, sweetheart.
I'm gonna get upstairs.
You get off of your car and you use your legs and you walk upstairs. That's how you get upstairs. And then you say, Mom, I need your help. Can you come down and help me, please? And then Mom will come down and she will help you. Okay?
Thank you. I just didn't know what to do.
Yep.
Because I did this and I'm super sorry.
That's okay. Just go get Mom for your help, please. So delta time is 0.02. Look, we actually did get some change. Forward. What's forward? That's the speed at which we're going, which is odd, right? Because forward is... What'd you miss? I'm trying to speed it up. And I did a quick Google search, and what they have is incorrect. Because they're saying... take your speed and do your rigid body velocity is going to be your transform forward times your speed, which is going to be your delta time times the acceleration, which is what I have in here. But as soon as I set it, it doesn't seem to work. And I've just noticed from my debugging that the forward has my X and Y as being 0, which is interesting. That's what you missed. So now I'm thinking, what is the forward? No, transform. Normalized vector representing the blue axis of the transform in the world space. So I'm thinking that might be the wrong thing that I want. Transform forward is the forward direction of an object. So the update probably shouldn't be getting called before the start, right? So this should actually give me the forward direction that it's heading. And imagine in a 2D space.
Dad, it didn't work.
Okay, go ask Rachel. Go ask Sydney. Go ask somebody else, sweetheart. I cannot hear you. Wait. Say something again? Ah, man. Wait, did these get unplugged? Okay, can you say something again? Hello? No. Have I made you quiet or something? No, you're normal volume. Hang up and try again, I'm guessing. They experience issues with the voice chat. That's great. So what else is available in the transform? Euler angles. Local position, local rotation, local scale, name parent position. There we go. I've already joined, right? Blue, BattleNet is not working out. I see you're talking, but I can't hear you. Should we try Discord? I didn't wait. I just left. It's been a while since I've done anything on Discord. Obviously, as you can see. Okay, I'm gonna switch here just in case something pops up. Did you hit the green headphones? I sure did, Blue. Don't be throwing that kind of shade on me. I think it's been a year and a half since I've done anything on Discord. Let's see. Gotta get out of here. do. See, that's what things like that, Blue. Okay, let me go ahead and restate it for everybody else involved. So Blue said, since you're using the bounce, the physics system, you should modify the velocity through the rigid body instead of the transform. And okay, I'm now in that general party state. So I sent you a link to join Discord. Hopefully that will just work and we can try talking that way. Okay. So body and dot. So we have the rigid body. What kind of things do we have here? Do we do body dot transform dot forward? Let's give that a go. Looking for your Discord password. We should just join like Heroes of the Storm and then just let that in-game thing just run. Okay, wait. Let's go ahead and clear. So our forward, which is the body transform forward, is just zeros once again. So I think I'm still missing something. And then the delta time is changing. Well, let me just try calling you again. We're experiencing issues with the voice chat service. Yeah, so that's not the way to go. Mumble? I think I've gotten rid of that though. Okay. Let's see. We're experiencing issues with the voice chat service. Okay, Blue, I can't do this. Yeah, it's dead. So you still can't find your Discord? What if we do this? What if we just put up Heroes of the Storm, we'll join the party, and that way we just get the de facto thing without doing the BNet chat. Oh, I didn't mean the 3D, I meant 2D. With bouncy. Why does object keep getting faster? Increases after every collision. I mean, that's actually a great idea. Instead of it just getting faster, just having it speed up with every collision. Okay, I've got Heroes of the Storm up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Wait, am I hearing you through Discord?
Yeah, through Discord.
Oh, okay. Let's get rid of this. What happened to you, BattleNet? Your voice chat.
Yeah, I use it all the time. I don't know why I was failing. Okay, so...
Okay, ignore that. I think they have a bounciness that's pretty high, and so that's why it's speeding up.
Okay, so let's see.
So you're saying instead
I
of
guess
using
first off,
the
what are you trying to accomplish? I guess
The
you
ball-
just want to speed it up.
Correct. The ball should gradually, continuously speed up. So basically, 1.1 times faster than its current speed. But whenever I'm looking at the forward,
Okay. So we can deal with that right now. The forward, so that has to do with direction. And as far as I know, because your object is just bouncing, it's never rotating in the direction that it's moving. So most things, so I understand why that was the code online, because most things, they'll be facing in the direction that they're moving, like a bullet or a projectile or whatever, because you'll have it, facing the direction it's moving, so you can just increase the forward, take the forward vector and multiply it by speed. But in this case, its direction has nothing to do with its movement because it's just bouncing. It's a physics thing. So what I would do is I would actually, let's see, and we can do this right here. So if you go to Unity,
okay,
you should, in the rigid body for your object, there's a little question mark, like in line with the name of the component. So rigid body 2D, right?
Gotcha.
So you can hit the little question mark and it'll bring up the web page.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so now you have the documentation. And I would go switch to scripting. I mean, you could use the manual too if you might. It might help you as well. But what we're going to do is we'll probably look for a function to get its current movement, right? And then we can just take the movement, take its current velocity.
Oh, when you say
Multiply
switch to the
1.1.
script, you're talking switch to the actual code. Is that what you're saying?
In the web page, there's a little thing at the top. Just switch to scripting.
The scripting API?
It's at the top. Yeah, right under switch to scripting, it says. Right under rigid body 2D. Oh. No, go back. That's the wrong one. So go back to the page that we were at.
Yeah. Right under the rigid.
And then see right under the title.
Okay.
Oh, actually, you can screen share on Discord, right? Would that be faster, or would it still have the delay?
How did the coding stream go? It's still going, Red. It's super exciting. I'm learning.
Okay, but anyway, so now you see all the functions and properties you can access through the rigid body 2D. And through those, you'll be like, okay, so let's see how we can do this.
Right. Usually I do that
right
through
off the bat, I see
hitting that period
velocity.
button.
Huh?
Usually I get that by hitting that period keystroke. See what.
Yeah, but it
the
doesn't
IntelliSense.
explain some of the functions. Like, you might not know what is this thing? So this is just helpful to know how to do this. But yeah, so I would just take a look and then be like, okay, I can use this in combination with, this function or whatever.
That's something different.
But anyway, I would personally just take its angular velocity, multiply it by 1.1, and then set that as its new angular velocity. That's what I would do. It's simple, but is that every time it hits the paddle or something? Or
No, it has nothing to. Just on the update, just always.
Oh,
get,
so it's gonna get 10% faster every frame.
well, and this is one of those things where I do it at a high number just to make sure that the code works, and then I scale it back to what is actually a comfortable thing.
Yeah, you just want to see it happening.
Okay, so the body rigid.
Okay, so yeah, I assume you'll have some number that you'll multiply by times that delta time. Yeah, by the 0.1.
Okay, so the velocity I'm imagining is a vector 2. Can you just do a simple
Yeah, so it shows
product
right
on it? Equals like this times 1.1f, and then times the delta time or whatever. Can you just do a simple product with this, multiplication? Or do you have to actually create a vector 2 and then do kind of like the matrix multiplication?
No, you can multiply. You can just multiply.
And that will just
by
say
single number.
for the in a vector 2, is it a vector 2
It'll
or a
apply.
vector 2D?
It'll multiply all the components of a vector times whatever number.
So you're at okay. So this would even.
If you wanted, you could normalize the vector. I don't. That's not what you want. But yeah, in this case, that works perfectly fine.
Okay.
Okay, but I think I know what's gonna happen. Let's wait for the stream delay.
But the ball never moved.
Yeah, I assume the ball gets really, really slow.
Why would it get really, really slow? It's greater than
Well,
one.
okay, because you're setting the velocity to its velocity times 1.1, right? Which makes sense. Times a really, really small number.
Yeah, the
time
point
delta
2.
time. So, what you actually want to do is, I assume you want to. Yeah, that second instance was 10% every frame. It was getting 10% faster every single frame.
And that's too much. Yeah, this is where I was like, I'll just play around with it and dial it in.
Yeah, you can do that. You can just have like a number.
So how do you deal with the time, delta time? Or is that even a consideration that we need to worry about?
Yeah, you can use time delta time. That'd be better because you want it to be a stable. But okay, so to answer your question, basically, the first thing you did is you got how much faster you want it to be, right?
Uh-huh.
So you would have to just add it to itself.
Instead of multiplying it across...
Well,
if you add it to itself,
multiply.
if you add it to yourself, you're just basically timesing it by 2 every time, right?
Well, no. Because, okay, so you're multiplying by the time.delta time by 1.1 to find out how much faster it needs to be this frame, right? Which is a really small number. So you have its original velocity, add it by how much faster it needs to be, and then you'll have a bigger velocity. So you do the same thing you were doing, just add its velocity back to it, is what I would say. You can match it all out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like calculating a percent of a number, and then not
And then you're adding that small
having
percentage
not having
back
the
to
original. It's like, oh, a 5% increase on, my speed, without the rest of the actual speed itself. Let's see.
it. And that way it's still relative. All those breaking ankles. That's what kind of games you're
That
going to
would
get
be-
here. It's very interesting, exciting stuff going on here, Red.
Breaking paddles. But yeah, I mean, that's more... That's really just like how you want it to function. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, and then this is where you would just dial in the speed.
To something that feels comfortable.
Yeah, something that's like works.
And this is already too fast. Okay, so this is something I'm going to do on my own time. Dial this in.
Dad,
Yes.
Dad, does something happen to my new car?
Something happened to your new car?
Yeah, there's one of those fluffy things and the wheel. It's like this. And
Okay. Go tell Mom, or go tell Rachel, or go tell Sydney. Go tell somebody who is not me. Casey. Oops. Okay, so I'll dial that in. Let's just keep the constant speed for now. One of the big questions that I have is these dialogue screens. The changing trajectory, that's going to be something similar. I'm looking for the collision event. Once that collision happens, if I see it's the paddle, then I can get information for the paddle and I can change the direction and stuff. I'll worry about that later, or I won't do it by myself and we'll do it next week. But the screens is the big thing. How do I do
Okay, yeah.
those dialogues?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of watching your stream. It's also muted. I muted your stream, so I'm watching your stream. So any questions, just ask.
How do I create... So I want to create a dialogue that is an overlay to the game that just says, when you're ready, press space. And then you press space, the dialogue goes away, and the ball starts moving.
Okay, so you already have a canvas.
Uh-huh.
And I believe we set up the canvas to take up the full, yeah, click on canvas. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, screen space overlay, which means it'll always take the full screen space.
Uh-huh.
So what I would do is I would put in a panel under that canvas. And you can also have just multiple canvases, like, depending on what makes sense for you in the game.
And the canvas is
you could
just
also
either...
You could also have, like, a canvas dedicated, you know, to this or that, and then canvas dedicated to gameplay and whatever. The main thing is when any element on a canvas changes, the Unity will redraw the whole canvas.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, if you care about performance at all, you generally want to have things that'll update a lot on their own canvas, and things that don't update a lot on another canvas.
Okay, so I want to create a secondary canvas.
Okay, yeah, just make another canvas like usual. Make sure it's in screen space overlay, or if you want it in world space, you can do world space, you know, whatever. But from what you said, screen space overlay makes sense. And then, yeah, you'll just make a panel or a text or whatever, or an image. I mean, yeah, at this point, it just comes down to design.
Yeah, and this is just going to be probably simple text or something on a white background.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
So
care.
you could just have like a text explaining to hit space, and then another button.
Exactly.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And the buttons are pretty nice. You can just use the Unity events, which they handle through the editor. So you'll just hit plus to the on click, and then you'll link it to some method that you call on your script.
Click the
Probably
plus
your game
on
manager.
the on click? Wait, what?
Oh, don't worry. When we get there, I'll explain it better.
Okay, so I have two different canvases. One's always going to be on and showing the game information, the score and the lives. And then we have a separate canvas, which I should put canvas on here so I self-documenting code to always tell me what type of object this is that I'm dealing with.
Our dialogue canvas. Okay,
And then
yeah.
I have a panel underneath.
Yeah, and the panel is just for visual. So if you hover over the scene view and press F while having panel highlighted, you'll zoom to it.
Okay. And then do I add UI elements to the panel? Is it hierarchical?
Yeah, you can add elements under the panel. The panel is literally just for like visual, like yeah. All of this is just design stuff. You can have like whatever you want. You could have an image in the corner. You don't need the panel if you don't want.
Oh, you showed me some cool things with this last time. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for...
Yeah, the crosshair thing can help you do a lot. Using Shift, Alt, click, you know. It has like presets, and then you can adjust off of that.
Yeah. And then we're just going to say... And so this is a representation of my screen, what it would show on this canvas. So I would want to make this text a lot bigger.
Yeah, yeah. That entire panel is the 100% of your screen. Yep.
Okay. And what else do I add to it?
A button, I guess. Well, no, you don't even need a button. Yeah, yeah.
Click button to start. I mean, we could do that instead.
So that could literally be it. That seems fine. And all you'll need is a method somewhere, I assume on like your game manager or whatever, and just it'll grab a reference to that canvas, and you can just disable the canvas.
Okay.
You know, turn off the game object, and then when you die, turn the game object on again. You know, does that make sense?
I completely ignored you there. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. I see you're messing with the color. So,
yes.
making it look nice and pretty.
Oh, so pretty.
Oh, by default, panels have some alpha to them. So if you're wondering why it kind of like looks like that.
Some transparency.
Yeah.
So, wait, how do I change the color of the text? Should just be the default UI material, right? Tint, well, that's tint.
It should just be the color. So
here
under
it
the
is.
text component, change the color.
Well, I didn't see it blue. It was hiding.
Okay.
Give me a break. God, some people have zero.
You don't like that fancy gray that they have as default?
No, well, as
gotta
you
be
remember,
pure black.
the arena, which is all the way down here, this still drives me crazy. We have orange here, so we got to make something else, colorful. And then space.
I think the black and orange works. Matches your logo.
Yes, I know. I'm just.
Well, actually, is your logo black or is that like a dark gray?
It is. Red. We'll have to tell you,
looks
but
gray.
it looks like around the outside it's black, but the one part of the D looks grayish.
Like, yeah, almost black.
Okay, so how do we do this? When it loads up, we want this panel to display. So this panel by default is turned off.
Oh, wouldn't it by default be on? Okay, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So think of it, it's just a game object that has, a panel component or image component, whatever. So all you're doing is turning that game object on or off.
So I don't want to do. So I'd probably want to do something here where public void start ball, separate the ball starting with a velocity to an event or a function that I control and that I call, as opposed to the game actually starting it.
Just starting it, Yep, exactly.
So the game starts, this just shows up. Oops, okay. This shows up, you hit space. So what is going to be keeping track of that? Is that going to be this game info?
So
Where
it's
on an
literally
update I look to see.
It's literally however you want to control it. Usually, you'd have like some sort of like a cycle manager, or whatever. It manages the life cycle of of the specific scene.
Your typical.
But you could just use a game
cycle.
manager. You could just use a game manager. You could use a component on the canvas itself. Like it's however you want to do it, however makes the most sense or works the best, whatever.
Well,
like you could literally have your own like a script dedicated to just the canvas as well.
I mean, does it make sense for the canvas, a UI element, to be controlling other objects?
No. I'm saying it would have a script that when you hit space, it would disappear itself. And then some other game object, when you die or whatever, will call it to bring it back up.
I
But,
gotcha.
or you could have the other, whichever game object is controlling the death, I guess, in this case, would probably make most sense to be controlling that anyway.
I mean, it does make sense that
there's like a ton
the
of
UI should know how to basically activate itself or deactivate itself.
Yeah, that the script would it just like turns itself on or off. But I mean, yeah, you'd like however you want to do it. But yeah, the UI shouldn't be controlling other objects. That'd be kind of weird.
Right, that's where.
That's why usually like the game manager or whatever instance manager would handle like the events, and then they'd be like all the components would be listening for the event, and then be like, oh, I hear this, and they're like, all right, I'll do my thing.
So it really is like I keep talking about the paradigm, how a lot of the development I do, it is straightforward, it is procedural, and with the scripting world, it's just like, well, the spacebar happens, which one component takes that input and then does stuff. That one person is in control. And you're like, no. everybody receives that
Everybody
same input.
can.
And so don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it.
Well, everyone can receive the input. It doesn't mean everyone should.
If
But,
they're looking at it. So I think that's probably where some optimization could happen, where you could write your own thing under the hood so that it doesn't get sent out to all types of objects. These, like the key press, doesn't just get sent out to every object. It just goes to certain objects.
Do you want me to get that off?
Well,
And-
I mean, okay, so the new Unity input system basically addresses that.
Uh-huh.
But it's also a bit more complicated to set up. Essentially, you'll put a player input script on the components that you want to handle player input.
Well, we gotta go to
Yeah.
Like that's
Okay, you say that
essentially
again.
it.
Sorry.
So in the new Unity input system, you would essentially put a player input script on any script or any object that you want to handle player input, and that's like the solution. So then
Okay.
input is like hit to Unity, and then Unity fires off the message to all the input scripts, and then the input scripts will send it off to any scripts that want to listen. But that's not you're just using the original input system, so you don't have to worry about that.
We'll learn the other fun stuff in the future, right? Dark gray.
You didn't give us a hex code? What kind of artist are you?
It's the best of both worlds. It's gray and black. Okay, so this one we can get rid of the start because it's just going to be active. If the spacebar ever gets put, we're going to set it to false, and it will always be set to false even if it was already set to false. It'll only show up if we actually call the show dialog.
Yep, if we call it to say like, hey, show dialog.
So then...
And okay, so another thing here. So we could run into an issue where you might be trying to call show dialog on a disabled game object, and that wouldn't work. So just make sure either you re-enable the object before calling that, or instead of disabling the object, you just disable the visual component.
So wait, if I set this to active to false, are you telling me that this is now a disabled object and then functions on the disabled object or not?
Because all the components are children of the game object, essentially. So if the game object becomes disabled, all components attached to it are disabled, which means you can't use them.
I guess you're talking about the script, which is a component associated with the game object.
Yeah, it's a component attached to the game object that has the canvas.
So internally, if I was a brick, I could say make myself inactive, and then in the next update cycle, I could make myself active again, and then can you do that, or is it always it's only a one-way street?
If you're inactive, you don't run.
So
like that
it's a one-way
update
street.
loop
As
you
soon as
have?
you turn it to off, set the active to false, you're done.
Yeah. Well, So some external thing would have to turn it back on for it to start running the scripts again. And then, like the link I showed you, it'll run through that whole thing. It'll be the on enable, then awake, start. It'll do that whole process over again.
What's the one thing where you get it by name? It's not the ball script.
I don't know what you're trying to do, but you probably just want to use a reference, right?
I guess that's probably the simplest way. And this is going to be your panel. Start. And then death. Here. Set active. And then
Yeah, it's a function. Yeah.
and then I could do show dialogue, which where are you not visible?
Oh no, you don't have to do that because it's already active.
No, but it's going to get turned to inactive, right? And so in order to show the dialogue, I first have to activate the dialogue or activate the panel, and then I can... Oh, this is not casted as a... Yeah, we'll just do this.
Wait, no, game object is right.
But I
Oh,
don't
okay. I
want-
mean, I guess you could do that too. The component itself.
dot game object dot. So is that game object
Okay.
the parent object,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
is this?
So all components are attached to game objects.
Uh huh.
So when the game object is disabled, all of its children are disabled, right?
Uh huh.
So all you're doing here is you're taking the game object that your start dialog panel is attached to and
Be-
setting it active to true, which
because
is
the
the same
scripts
thing
are
as what you
components.
had before,
Right, but now I can call the show dialogue without casting.
without having to do get component. Yeah.
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 Okay.
But you don't have to do that because it's already active, because you just set it active. So if you go to your show dialog script
But this
or
is
the show dialog function,
yeah.
game object dot set active to
But-
true, right?
But you said the show dialogue. That's true. I wouldn't have to call this again. It would just be,
Yeah, because the game object
This.
you literally just set it active. Yeah, already.
and in which case we just do a get object or game object, because we wouldn't need to worry about any functionality.
Yeah, you don't actually care about that component in this case.
We just care whether or not it's activated.
Whether the game object itself is, active or not.
But this.
But yeah, now once it's active, the script will be active. So when you hit the space bar, then it'll disappear itself.
But we said we'd do that in the ball.
Yep.
Let me do this. Dump that. So if we hit the space, we deactivate this, and we'd start this. But then we also need a boolean to say whether or not it's died. Right? Because if you just hit the space, we don't want it to just immediately start over from its initial position. So we need to know whether or not we are in a death state.
Oh, wouldn't you just call it your start ball function?
I guess at this point in time, yeah.
Yeah, and then your
Is
game manager should
this-
handle the ball reset, right? Or, whatever else is handling that. Is it the ball that handles the ball reset?
So this, I had the separation of the functionalities. So as soon as you hit the death, it would call the reset.
Okay,
yeah. Normally I just call start ball now, but that was in start before. And so since we moved it out of start, the ball reset kind of doesn't make sense anymore. Is not needed. So, does that make sense? This is no longer needed because of a change we made earlier today. Because this all was in the
I
start.
don't fully
and
understand, but if you understand, that's perfect.
This
It's
used,
your code.
this used to be up here in start, which I guess technically we
understand
could
the
have
start ball.
we
I
could have
just-
called the start instead of ball reset for
Doesn't
this ball
something else
object.
call ball reset though?
Only the death trigger.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you shouldn't comment that out, right?
Well, no, because
Something
on
else
the
is gonna
death.
call.
So once the space hits, we're going to hit start ball, which will go to the
Yep.
initial location.
Yep.
So, because
Oh,
of,
initial. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see.
yeah, so there was
yeah,
a reason for it before, but now that we've modified something else, there's no reason for it.
I understand now. Yeah. Okay.
Coding is fun, isn't it? Okay, so here's the thing though. If you hit space while the game is running, it's going to put it to the initial location with the initial velocity. So I need to add is dead or something as a variable.
You could also just turn this component off.
So if I die, kill the component, but then how do I...
Well, you don't want to kill it. You can just turn it off. And then anything in any code in the component won't run.
Right. But then something else is going to have to drive it. So the panel or the game object or something else is going to have a reference to the ball script to make it active so that we could start the ball again.
Okay, I thought your death thing handled that.
So it did call the ball
Yeah, I thought
reset.
it was just checking like, oh, this is a ball, I'll reset, right? I thought your...
But we don't have the ball reset anymore.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I was asking earlier. I was like, oh, didn't you need the ball reset? Okay. Yeah, no.
So I was going back to
Boolean
what we were
flag.
talking
Let's do
about,
it.
how we are going
Let's
back to
keep
the
it
point
simple.
where
Boolean
the
flag,
user
let's go.
input, each object should understand the user input in its own state, rather than
Yeah.
somebody else understanding the state. Public
Yeah,
void.
contextual, like what it means to it and not anything else.
Yeah. Ball died.
Yeah, see, and with the old input system, it gets really terrible because anyone hitting space would trigger this.
Uh-huh.
So, like, multiplayer, it's like if you have two keyboards and it's like, oh, you want one keyboard for one person, one for another or something, or two controllers, like hitting start, like, no, they'll both trigger. Yeah.
Okay, so actually...
I'm glad they have a new input system.
Which
to
we're
fix
going
a
to
lot of
have to
stuff.
learn at some point in time. So now, on the death script, we can say ball died. So the ball died, which means we set this is dead to true. So if we hit space and is dead. So if we hit space while it's still alive, it will not reset the ball.
It'll do
Only
nothing,
once the
yeah.
ball
Okay.
died will we actually start the ball.
Okay. Simple enough.
And then we set the dialog to true that says hit space to continue. Okay. Now watch it all die. A horrible, horrible death. Hit space. That's very colorful.
Well, it looks like it didn't start.
Oh,
you didn't actually. Yeah, you didn't actually keep the code.
it
that,
was
like,
never. Yeah. So what if we?
It's right below. Yeah, you commented it out. It's right below it.
Well, that's to speed up the movement, right? This is the initial movement. So if it's true, we should be able to start the ball now. There was nothing that was starting this as true, so that we could actually start our movement.
Okay. Yep.
And then if we let it go,
Perfect. Not perfect. Because you removed the what is it?
the
ball
death
reset,
script,
right?
ball died, but the start dialog panel should have been set to true, so we should have seen that. Right? The ball goes away, it disappears, and then we should have seen the panel, and we didn't see the panel. Boop, that goes away. I should be seeing the panel. Uh-oh. Oh, what? It came back. I don't know where it went. Where'd it
Wait,
go?
is the ball not being killed?
I don't know.
Okay, so you can step through with the thing to the right of the pause.
Ball object is down here. Okay. Now
Yeah,
I
so
come in
it's
here, I
just
hit
not-
space. So wait, where did the...
Because you're not resetting its position?
But how did it get back out? How did it come back up?
Well, I don't think you're resetting the position, right? Are you just resetting the velocity of the ball?
I mean, the ball died is just sets it to... Yeah, I guess I'm not setting
Yeah,
the
so I
velocity
assume like
zero.
wherever it is down below, you're like, oh, ball died, restart, and then it moves up and to the right again, and then it just happens to like hit back into the little thing from below.
Yeah, because we don't have a starting position. Oh, crap.
Yeah.
So where's the ball reset that I got rid of? Okay. Velocity, starting position, new quaternion.
Oh yeah, the quaternion thing that I commented, that wasn't to be like, oh, I understand that. That was just like, I'm glad I don't have to understand quaternions.
The reference script cannot be loaded on this behavior. Doesn't even tell me what the script is. What's Blue working on for the up? Yeah, he's doing the main thing. You know, he's doing it. I think he's taking a 3-month hiatus, but it's okay. It's taken me 3 weeks to create a very simple thing. But he's doing all of that, and then I'm just doing all the little mini
I've been
games.
struggling like what kind of systems I want in there. I gotta work it all out. Cause like I don't know how deep I want the
Not deep.
actual like fighting component to go.
The reference script. Did I not go far
Did you
enough?
accidentally change a name somewhere of the like title or the script class or anything?
I shouldn't have. Can you see? There's still ball script. Ball has ball script. Start dialogue. Where'd my start dialogue script go? Is that what it's complaining about? We've killed it all. Game object. No, it was the death script. Has the start dialogue panel. Start dialogue panel has its own start dialogue panel script. Just
Oh, what's
turns
the error?
off. It's not getting an error anymore.
Oh, okay.
I hit spacebar. Okay. So that means I screwed something up with this. At partition. Starting speed is just a float. That's the initial velocity. But here. Oh. That's probably what we needed. Don't know where it started, but okay. Dialogue's still not popping up, but I'll hit spacebar. Hit the spacebar, it's not doing anything. It won't do anything until you die, and then the spacebar takes effect. So the initial starting position is screwed up.
Okay.
It's okay. That's
So
okay.
let's see. The dialogue doesn't work.
The dialogue is
panel,
not
I guess?
popping back up in the death
Okay.
script. We're setting it to active.
Let's check the reference. Make sure we have the right thing. Let's see.
Death script, which is on the death. Start dialogue panel is the object. Black background
you
with
might-
white text. That's a good idea.
You might. I think. Okay. Yeah. Play the game again. I think you're turning off. So I think initially, you're turning off the canvas, but then on the second try, you're trying to turn on the panel, which is a child of the canvas, because it's a child of a disabled object. It's not being called. Is my guess.
Wait, is the... Oh, the canvas had the start dialogue script. Not the start... Okay. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. So death, I want the object to be the canvas. See, which is another problem with the game object generic object types. This is a lot harder to catch that kind of crap. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. And then what we're gonna do, one last thing, ball script. We're gonna get this tied in. 1/10. I think that's still probably gonna be too fast. Okay, there's the last bit. It's gonna speed it up, and then we're switching to game night.
At the speed up script. All right, let's do this.
That was just my fault. That was horrible.
Actually, so it might make more sense to linearly increase the speed instead of like. Is that an exponential? I don't know.
No, this isn't exponential. The way we were doing it, the way we were doing it before, it was becoming exponential, but now we're just doing a fraction of your time, or a fraction of your speed,
yeah. Okay.
and then adding that onto your existing one. So.
Okay, yeah. I see.
Oh, let's cancel it and restart. So it does get going, and it gets going to be pretty decent speed. It is significantly faster now than it was before, but it's also at a rate that is highly acceptable.
Manageable.
Yeah. Because you don't want them to do too well, right?
Well, I've thought of an addition you could do.
What's that?
So you could have it where you could move the paddle up and down like a step, and it'll move slower or faster depending on which step it's at.
Wait.
Like sort of like high gear, medium gear, and low gear.
So if your paddle's up higher in the scene, that it moves faster?
So like your up and down arrow would just like toggle you up and down the little tracks, I guess, and you would move slower or faster proportionally.
Something like this? Or you're just talking about it changes everything, like the game speed, not the paddle.
I'm just saying, yeah, I'm just saying as like an additional feature, just random idea, like something you could do.
Because I did have the time or the speed of the ball dependent upon
The arrow.
Yeah, whether or not you're
Okay, yeah,
turning
no,
the
I just
arrow
meant
down.
I meant the actual paddle.
You meant
Like
the paddle.
being able to move it like up and down. Did you ever play like a old beat 'em up where you had like lanes?
Uh-huh.
Where you jump from like middle lane to the top lane to fight the guys?
Uh-huh. I never understood how they could
I was
keep
just
that
thinking like
track.
there's 3 lanes and yeah, depending on which lane you are, that's how fast your paddle will move.
You
But,
know what?
I mean, that's just like some fancy extra feature.
Blue, you
I was
just
thinking.
gave me a great idea, though. What if we married together Breakout and Super
With-
Hot? The ball only moves if you move
while
your
you're
paddle.
moving. Wouldn't that make it? I don't know how you'd make that hard, right?
Well, you'd have to time how far away you'd have to be to start moving to where the ball's going to be, so your paddle can be in that location.
All right. Well, you make it work, and I will.
It may be.
I'll look forward to this.
It may be difficult. It may be interesting.
Super
I don't
hot
know.
breaker.
I'm gonna.
I don't know what you call it. Super breaker hot. Super hot breaker.
Hot breakout is super. That's what we'd call it.
Hot breakout is super. That sounds sort of like the. Oh man, what game is that? It sounds like a level name, of like this indie game. I forgot what it is, but it's like level names were like that. Like, oh, milk is pretty cool. And like, yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Okay,
All right,
that's it. Quit in Discord. Thank you.
got a
Blue.
lot done. We threw a canvas on there.
Whoa, so amazing. See, and here's the interesting thing is that when we last week, I expected to finish it and be like, "Hey, we're gonna do great." And
Yeah,
then,
in my mind, I thought we were gonna finish in like the first day.
but there's
'Cause I had it like all tracked out in my mind. I'm like, oh, he's gonna do this, that,
this
and
and this
I'm
and
like,
this
boom, easy.
done, simple.
Yeah, bam, bada, boom.
But
And I was like, oh, I'm really bad at teaching.
no, it's just because they're like we were talking about the player keystroke. When you hit space, who is in control, who does what, and it's just a different way of thinking about things.
Well,
and so
I mean,
we're having all of
you
these
could make an-
conversations.
Like, if that confuses you, you can make a game object that handles player input,
Yeah,
and it'll handle the messaging to the proper skips and whatever.
I can, but why? Just to fit the paradigm that I'm thinking of?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people like do some janky stuff. You've never seen some
Oh, I've seen
jank
janky
around?
code. Yes. No.
yeah. So I mean, like, if you have a way that makes sense and how you want to do it, I'd say go for it.
Yeah, but the problem is even if I have a way of thinking about it, I can't get it to work in Unity just because of the relationships. And so, yeah, there's a lot of very simple key elements that we're going over, and it shouldn't take very long. But the point is I'm learning how to understand Unity and how to work with Unity, and I think that's
Okay,
why it's
yeah,
taking
yeah.
so long. But now that I understand a lot of the basics, I think we could do something more complicated in a very shorter period of time.
So if we deleted this entire project, how fast do you think you could remake it?
I mean, if we deleted the project including the existing script so I couldn't copy and paste,
Yeah.
yeah, that's still going to take a while because I would have to mess around with things to get this going again. Some of the basic stuff, the relationships and how one, like, the references to other objects and things like that, I think would be very quickly. But I think there are... Oh, I thought I felt a cat. But there's still other things like this velocity or... Wait, is there really anything else that would be difficult? The movement of the
think you got it
paddle,
all.
movement paddle and the ball. So, I don't know.
Oh, just the more mathy stuff.
Yeah, the more mathy. The physics-y stuff.
Yeah, if you ever have problems, you can always just leave that to me. I kind of like doing weird math stuff. I'm trying to get there.
Okay, well, I will see you in Heroes of the Storm, okay, Blue?
All right, yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay.